I think we will be feeling the effects of this pandemic for a generation. There's no substitute for in-person learning. And when you take a look at those critical years when children are desperate, it's like their DNA yearns for social connection, and so many of them have been living without that. And it's going to take all of us, our entire community, to make sure that we identify those students who have become disconnected and work really hard to make sure our kids don't fall through the cracks.
COVID may never go away, but is that a reason to keep them isolated?
I would say to you that one of the challenges that I have seen is that there's no way to really monitor. If there's not real structure, how do you monitor that a student is actually using the internet and learning? I've seen students that they're turning their monitors on, but they're doing other things. So, and what would be academic time is not being used in that manner. And so there's going to be a real problem. There is learning loss. Learning loss has occurred as a result of COVID. We know that we're coming into a summer season. We're going to experience even further learning loss unless there's some intervention now. We are, in fact, as I would agree with the mayor, we're going to lose a generation. We're going to lose students that now have developed habits that are not good learning habits. They've developed habits that are more leisure and more of a different ilk. And so I just shudder for our society now as we find that these young people, without any real direction, now will be not coming to school. I don't know how the school's going to recruit these students back to schools unless there are really some incentives to get them to come back.
A lot of these kids, when the school starts in summer to fall, you will not even see these kids again. You won't even be able to track them. And then we saw in the package about the ghost stories. Some of these kids don't even exist, but the administrator, somebody is still being paid for this head count. It seems as though we spend this massive amount of dollars in these inner cities with these black kids and very little to show for it. What about school choice? Why can't a parent, if the school system is not working for it, why they can't have a choice to take that kid somewhere else?
You know, one of the things that we've found, and I do commend our Upton Planning Committee and the persons of Upton community, we recognize we have here from University of Maryland School of Social Work, we recognize that there was a charter school here that was managed by a firm from New York. And what we realized was that that was not producing the outcomes. So we created a community-based charter school, took over that school, and that school having tremendous outcomes. There's three factors that we need to realize when you talk about a student being able to overcome a situation. First is you have to have an extended family network. So you're going to find here persons from Thread and from Project Numa that build a blanket around the students. The church does it well. You've got to have a community-based school where school is a true integral part of the community. We do it well here with Parliament Heights. And then you have to have a relationship with a faith-based institution. One of the things about Union Baptist Church and many of the churches in our community is that they have vacation Bible schools, or they have summer learning, or they have after-school experiences. Those experiences will need to be integrated into an understanding of the school system so that we make certain that those students that should not experience learning loss, but because they're connected with some institution in their community.
The pastor's right. We need to all get engaged. The community needs to be a part of these solutions and stop looking for the silver bullet to fix all of the problems with education.
What can teachers' unions do? Take a look at themselves. I always believe that an unexamined life, like an unexamined political philosophy, is not worth leading and following. Just because something worked well 20 or 30 years ago doesn't mean it cannot be tweaked to work better today. What can teachers' unions do to make sure that the educational experience for children and their parents are better going forward?
And in Baltimore, when I negotiated with the Baltimore's teachers union, they wanted to put accountability measures in place where teachers were held accountable for the outcomes in their classrooms. They wanted to work to find ways to make it a more constructive environment. And I don't think often that they're given the credit for the work that they are willing to do.
I was watching a debate ages ago between former President Ronald Reagan and Jimmy Carter, and they were talking about the same educational issues we're talking about today, ages ago. I mean, we are created in God's image, the most intelligent beings on the planet. It seems to me that we should have made substantial more progress on this issue. It is not as if it's getting better, Mayor Blake. I mean, what gives you hope?
What gives me hope is that I'm willing to recognize that we have challenges and we have successes. And I am not daunted by the challenges, and I think that we should hold up the successes. Every school isn't a failure. Every teacher isn't a failure. Every student isn't a failure. We have challenges, and our community needs to rise to meet those challenges. And I have hope, because we have seen better, that we can have a better school system. Look around you. You have people who are here because they care, that they are willing not just to sit here, but to do the work that is necessary to support teachers, to support administrators, to support and hold accountable elected officials. That is what gives me hope. If this room was empty, I think it would be a challenge to have hope. But this room isn't empty, and there are rooms around this city that are not empty because people care, and that continues to give me hope.
When I was growing up as a kid, there were 10 children. My parents had a very interesting philosophy. It wouldn't matter if all 9 kids excelled in school and did very well. But if one kid failed, the entire household failed. That was their philosophy. Also, if I was successful and my brothers and sisters were not successful, we're all are failures. We can't afford to lose one.
That's right.
That is our philosophy. And we have the intelligence to save these kids and make a difference. And we'll be back.